So the markets are absolutely crashing, and now Wall Street is dumping and turning on Donald Trump. You also have massive protests of the weekend. Musk is infighting with the Trump team. And essentially, I want to go over what they're saying, what they're planning, and what the heck is going on.
President Trump promised that he was going to improve the economy starting on day one. He said prices are going to come down. More than 160 million Americans, Mr. Secretary, as you know, are invested in the market. Many of them have spent their lives saving for their retirement. What is your message to Americans who want to retire right now and who've just seen their lifetime savings drop significantly?
Well, Kristen, I think that's a false narrative. Americans who want to retire right now, the Americans who have put away for years in their savings accounts, I think they don't look at the day-to-day fluctuations of what's happening.
We want. Buying cheap goods is not a real prosperity, and we don't have to accept that. So you lay the law down, that's all. And look, all the badly behaving children in Asia and elsewhere, they're coming home to Papa, as I said earlier in the show. They're all on the phone, begging for mercy. There will be a lot of deals made in the next week or two or three.
Dow futures fall 1,500 points Sunday as the Trump tariff market rout escalates. All three of the major indices are down. I believe it's the NASDAQ down 4%, Dow down 4%, and the S&P 500 also down 4%. These are the futures. President Trump and their team, they're going to like, hey, we're still winning. This is literally what they tweeted out just an hour ago. Week 11 wins. President Trump unleashes economic prosperity. I don't feel like we're winning. I feel like they're living in Delulu land. But that's why people are calling it out. This was from Bloomberg. Again, Wall Street's calling it out. Trump's tariff chart of death has Wall Street facing harsh reality, right? And then you got this. This is a really big one. One of the biggest Tesla stock promoters, his name is Dan Ives. He's pulling back his estimate of what he thinks about Tesla stock. I guess he's slashing the price target 43%. And that's why you see Musk basically freaking out, because the house of cards is falling apart. So here's Musk talking about how he doesn't like tariffs either. Have a listen.
I hope that I hope that the United States and Europe can establish a very close partnership. We obviously are, there's an alliance already, but I'm hopeful that there can be a very close relationship with America and Europe. And I'm hopeful, for example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. That would be that's what I hope occurs.
So you just heard it from Musk. He's like, yo, I think I want zero tariffs, free trade zone. That is very, very different what the Trump people are saying. Trump people out right now are trying to defend Trump's policy, and there's even some attacks on Musk. This is Navarro, one of Trump's people, and have a listen to what he has to say.
It was interesting to hear Elon Musk at the beginning talk about a zero tariff zone with Europe. He doesn't understand that. And the thing that's, I think, important about Elon to understand, he sells cars. That's what he does. And if you look, for example, at the Tesla factories in Texas, they're assembly plants, and they get a lot of their content from China, Mexico, Japan, and Taiwan and elsewhere.
There's a lot to unpack with this stuff, but I just wanted to see that, like, the infighting going on. So one, you have the Trump people like, wow, that's just Elon. He just sells cars. What does he know, right? That's kind of the sentiment behind that. And then he's going on to like, hey, look at Elon's getting parts from all over the world. And essentially, I want you to think about this because it's interesting. Remember, Elon aligned himself with Trump, which doesn't really make sense in terms of like, hey, why are you aligning with the guy that's against electric cars? Why are you aligning with the guy that's basically going to hurt your company? And this is sort of why we're all calling it Elon, because it's a lot of it is bizarre, just the way that they're doing things. Elon, though, did align with Trump because you could say, well, Tesla's a failing company, and the only way to save your company is just to buy off the president and try to get a bunch of government subsidies. Or you could read it as, well, Elon Musk is basically dumping Tesla and then just go hang out at SpaceX and do Twitter and just pursue other things, because Tesla's story is largely done. all the good people left, and essentially all the competition now is surpassing Tesla in terms of cars. And it's interesting to see, like, now in public, you got Navarro calling out Elon. I want to take a look at some more. And you can also make the case that Elon's a total hypocrite, right? He's got 3 citizenships. He always says how much he loves America, but like, why don't you renounce Canada and South Africa if you're so in love with America? The Trump people are still defending Trump's tariffs. I want you to have a little listen to this. This is a football coach from Alabama, for real, and this is a senator.
Are you confident that the president's overall plan will protect consumers at the end of the day?
100%. We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain. There's a lot of people that are a little skeptical, but we have to change course. We cannot continue to do the same thing. It's like playing football. If you keep running the ball up the middle and you're not getting any traction, you got to start throwing the ball. That's what
guys, I guess we got to start throwing the ball. So to be fair, I like sports and I understand the sports analogy. I get it. But the problem is, though, is that this is largely who the Republicans are. Like, this guy was literally a football coach. His qualifications, he's really good at coaching football, but that's who Alabama people want. And you might say, well, Chris, maybe he knows economics, stuff like that. Guys, like, even in college, this guy majored in sports. That's what he is. He's a football coach, and he's really good at coaching football. But I don't necessarily want people like throwing the football like as a solution to everything, if you understand what I'm saying. And then he's going to go on about like tariffs and Vietnam and shrimp and catfish. Seriously, take a look at this.
President Trump's doing. He's a businessman. He's the first president that's really stood up and say enough of other countries ripping us off. Just in my state of Alabama, catfish farmers are going under because Vietnam is dumping billions of trash catfish and shrimp into our state, and they're going under. We are in huge trouble, and we have to change course.
And I've noticed this with the Republican rhetoric lately. I don't know. They keep talking about shrimp. Shrimp this, shrimp that, shrimp this, shrimp that. Now they're blaming Vietnam, and the Vietnam shrimp, I guess, is the reason why of your economic problems. I'll just say this. My wife and I, we were recently in Vietnam, and I'll just tell you, the shrimp is freaking awesome there. So when he's talking about, trashing on Vietnam shrimp, I don't know what you're talking about. I think the shrimp is awesome in Vietnam, and that's all I have to say about that. But this is the rhetoric that they're trying to go with, right? They're basically always about blaming someone else. And there's a real problem, too, when their policies essentially is geared around making Donald Trump rich. So if you're ever curious, like, what's their plan? What's their end game here? It's to make Donald Trump rich, right? And Elon Musk is probably thinking, well, what about me? I bought off the government to make me rich, too. What are you doing? And so I think that's why you're seeing some infighting. Maybe the promises that Trump made to Musk aren't coming through. Let's take a look at some more. These are Republicans on what their plan is. Let's have a listen together.
President Trump is now doing is cutting that red tape. He's cutting the bureaucracy. He's making it easier. You're going to see lease sales both onshore and offshore. And most importantly, we have to get to a place of permitting reform so that energy companies are not competing with Uncle Sam, that you don't have years of delays due to litigation or the red tape that the bureaucracy has imposed.
So if you understand what he's saying, and this is something that Musk says a lot too, these kind of people, they hate regulations. They hate laws that protect consumers. They hate laws that protect regular people. Basically, they want to poison your water. They want to dirty your air. They want to explode rockets wherever they want because they don't care about you, right? For them, this is all about making themselves rich. So then when he's like, oh, I just hate litigations. I hate that. So like in his point of view, this particular person was Pfluger is his name. Yeah, Pfluger, I guess, August Pfluger. And I know it's an unusual name, but his name is August Pfluger. But his argument would be like, if your water gets poisoned in Flint, who cares, right? I mean, we don't want this lawsuits, those greedy lawyers and those litigation. That's how these people talk, right? They're always bad talking the law and bad talking judges, this kind of stuff. You can see it in his language. It's obvious what he's saying. And then he's going to go on and talk about, so what are their economic plans? And it aligns with Musk. Have a listen. You'll see what I'm saying.
I think that's what you're going to see. It's going to enter us into a new era of energy. And with the incoming AI data centers and the technology that you're seeing, the demand for electricity is only going to increase. In some cases, people are predicting as much as double.
So their argument they're going to make, and I've told you guys several times on the channel, if you've been following this, basically the stock market has been betting that, Elon's robots, right? Seriously, humanoid robots, all this AI, this is going to just be the most awesome thing in all time, and all these companies are going to make this money. There's so many problems with this stuff. So one is, yes, actually AI does use a bunch of energy. Completely true. And so one of the things that Musk has been doing, he's been going to towns like Memphis and basically threatening people's energy because all the energy is going to go to these new AI data farms. The AI, the whole purpose of it is basically replace people's jobs. So like the sustainability, it doesn't really make sense in terms of like, hey, if we're going to throw all of our money, all your tax dollars, et cetera, into building these robots, building this AI to take your job, on top of that, they also want to fire you, you kind of get a sense of where this is going. It's unsustainable. That's why people are taking to the streets of this stuff. I just want you literally to see from their own words the stuff that they talk about. And then they're always talking about these big numbers of all of this money that's coming in for AI. A lot of this is smoke and mirrors. It's all pledges. No actual money is actually coming. And even if they promise you jobs, just understand this, it's smoke and mirrors again, because there'll be a bunch of jobs to build these buildings, right? Build these big data centers that they keep talking about. But then when you actually run the data center, it doesn't take that many people to run it, right? So it's smoke and mirrors. Yes, we'll create, 2,000 jobs when we build the thing, but then all the jobs will go away, and then we only need 20 people to run the actual data center. They don't tell you that part, but that's what I'm trying to go over with you guys. And then you got something like this, which is really important. Trump orders end to Social Security paper checks. Now, why is this important? Well, to a lot of older people, they do everything in paper, right? They haven't quite moved on to where everything's digital. And some people just really like paper. And so what they're going to do, they're going to force you to go digital. And there's some people who may not necessarily, understand how to convert all this stuff to digital. They'll be like, where's my paper check? And then they're going to say, well, if you want to fix anything, then you got to go to the office and fix it. And for some people, it might be really difficult for them to get to an office. And then when you get there, there's going to be long wait times, or maybe they've closed said office, or they haven't updated the website with the new, address of where said office is. They're basically gonna what's the right word to say it, like misdirect you, make it really difficult for you to get your money. And this is your money. I want to make that really clear. And that's kind of their plan, is to basically mess with the system. This was in the Wall Street Journal just coming out today. Hours in line, cut off calls, assessing Social Security in the era of Doge. They even described it as like basically that there's all these people showing up because the system is broken. Elon Musk has referred to Social Security as a Ponzi scheme. Let me read a bit of description. You'll kind of see the seriousness of this. Again, we're talking about Social Security here. Such scenes have become more common at the 1,200 Social Security offices across the nation. Again, people are just showing up going like, what's going on? Where employees, beneficiaries, and advocacy groups described a depleted, overburdened staff, long waits, frequent disconnects from the agency's toll-free number, and hours spent idling in field offices, right? So basically, they're breaking Social Security. Then you got the JD Vance guy. He's going to claim when you call in that you're all trying to scam them, right? So listen.
And by the way, the work of Doge is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see
what they're going to do, and this is their plan. So I want to go back to this stuff. All of these actions that they're taking, like, cutting paper checks, or making it so you have to come in person, or the phones don't work when you call them, or the hours are ridiculous, like when you get there, or the lines are really long. They're making it really, really, really hard to get your money. That's what they're doing. That's how they're cutting Social Security. And then when you call and then say, hey, what's going on with this thing? Well, you got to come in, or they'll claim that, oh, no, you're just trying to scam the government. You're just a scammer. That's what they're doing. Like these people are absolutely corrupt and insane. I just want to show you what they're up to so you understand it. Here's some more of them saying stuff.
Why did the president not include Russia on the list of countries who are facing tariffs?
There's obviously an ongoing negotiation with Russia and Ukraine, and I think the president made the decision not to conflate the two issues. It doesn't mean that Russia, the fullest of time, is going to be treated wildly different than every other country.
But Russia is one of the only countries, one of the few countries that is not subject to these new tariffs, aren't they?
They're in the middle of a negotiation, George, aren't they?
Well, I'm asking a different question. Why? And I just want to know why.
Would you literally advise that you go in and put a whole bunch of new things on the table in the middle of a negotiation that affects so many American and Ukrainian and Russian lives?
Negotiators do that. Negotiators do that all the time.
No. That's not appropriate to throw a new thing into these negotiations right in the middle of it. It's just not.
So you are conceding that Russia is not paying any new tariffs, unlike many of our allies, including Europe, Canada, Mexico.
Russia is in the midst of negotiations over peace that affects really thousands and thousands.
If you look at this, he was just squirming. You guys saw it, right? He was squirming. That's who these people are, right? When you call them out of like, hey, why don't we have tariffs on Russia? They just squirm. Or if you call them out of like, hey, why are you cutting Social Security? They just squirm. That's who these people are. I just have to show you guys who they are. Be careful. And, you know, this is sort of why all the Americans are taking to the streets. And I promise you, when Elon Musk and Trump and now Doge stuff, when they start cutting people's money and the checks don't arrive, or you call in, they're like, oh, you're dead. Like, cause like we had that guy in Seattle where he got a letter from Social Security and they're like, we're stopping your benefits because you died. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm alive. Like that kind of stuff. People are going to get really, really pissed. So I just wanted to share you guys what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts. Please be careful out there, and I'll catch you all in the next video.